Good morning, StockTwits crew. Good morning and a happy FAFO Friday. Welcome back to another episode. We're getting through the week, wrapping it up. Michael Nauss. It's been a crazy week with all the earnings, all the
Mhm.
data. I personally have not taken too many trades myself, to be honest. I'm long some Tesla calls right now, and I've taken one futures trades, two actual transactions happened in my futures account this entire week. So
Wow.
pretty light for me. I'm interested on how the week's been treating you. We've had a lot going on. So
It's
how's it
been
been going?
it's been fantastic. It's been great. I was buying that gap down on Monday. Thought everyone was getting a little too ahead of themselves. I have kind of a bear market or a perma bear indicator where I've got a couple accounts on Twitter that I like to go check out and to see how loud they're getting, and they're getting really really loud. So yeah, I got involved in a whole bunch of names there, and it's been a great week for that. Now we're knocking on the door of all time highs. Can't be bearish, right? When you're on
Once
all time
again, right?
highs.
Yeah, once again. Well, let's get into the daily rip. Let's recap what we had happen yesterday. Just get ready for the end of the week here. Here's the heat map. A lot more green throughout some of our tech names that we've seen some decent red in over the past week, but Nvidia
Hmm.
looking good. Microsoft and Apple kind of flat. They started off really strong yesterday morning, but kind of just ended with nothing going on there. Tesla down again a little bit. I actually took advantage of that dip, and we're looking for some upside now. But still, again, I've talked about 2024 has really been the swingers market for me, and this year has been definitely more day trading
Hmm.
for my style of trading. So just knowing that, obviously, I'm taking a lot less options plays, and then the swing trades I am taking, like I've got plenty of time. The contracts I have are for April, so really trying to if I am gonna swing, trying to be as safe as possible. But looking pretty good here on the heat map. You got banks doing good, healthcare not as good, and energy taking some hits. But other than that, I mean, heat map looking pretty solid. What do we think about this, Michael Nass?
I always say it. I love the Christmas tree heat map, right? I love when it's kind of boring as a trader, as someone who's trying to get alpha out of the market when it's all green or when it's all red. You're seeing a good mix of both. Even I think healthcare is a good thing to focus on and look at. You've got Eli Lilly up, Johnson Johnson down, UNH down, ABBV up. So when you're seeing these things, it just makes life more interesting, if nothing else, right? I hate the term a stock picker's market, but when you're seeing that, you're seeing this kind of Christmas tree red green thing going on. It means it's stock picker's market. It's going to pay to be active. It's going to pay to kind of stick and move and to not get married to kind of one idea or jump around a little bit.
Yep, I'm with you. Well, let's see what else we got. Amazon slides on revenue guide. So this is really the first I'm hearing of it because I was not covering any of the earnings last night. I'm sure you probably did, Michael. But
Mm-hmm.
the tech giants' earnings revenue topped expectations. It's closely watched. Amazon Web Services revenues of 28.8 billion met estimates, while its advertising segment 17.3 billion dollar figure missed analysts by $0.1 billion. The real issue was its revenue guidance of 151 to 155.5 billion, which fell short of the consensus estimate of 158.5 billion. Management noted this forecast anticipates an unusually large 1.5% unfavorable impact from foreign exchange rates. However, analysts are focused on the implied 5% to 9% revenue growth of that first quarter guidance, with the low end of that range marking the slowest growth rate in its history as a public company. With revenue growth slowing, Amazon continues to focus on trimming expenses and growth in its higher margin business units. Operating margins rose to 11.3% from 11% last quarter and 7.8% in the same quarter of 2023. And then you see the stock twits poll there. Do you think the market is overreacting to the guidance of Amazon? And 61% thinks the reaction is overblown. So love to see that. What do we think about this earnings and where Amazon's headed right now, Michael?
Well, it looks like the 61% was right, because yeah, we just looking at the chart here, we blew off right at that earnings, got to a low of 222, and then now we're back up to 232, which puts us above like a most recent pivot, all that. So it looks like this was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction that's now getting kind of bought up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the open, but looking at these numbers again, I'm a technical analyst. I'm not a fundamental guy. They don't look that bad. They don't look like anything that's super super crazy. So I just think, yeah, a little bit of a dip down, just to maybe. exit some liquidity, get some people scared, and now looks like we got a chance of being green today after all this. So
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense to me too. After seeing Google in its earnings, that we didn't absolutely rip, even though the earnings weren't bad at all. It's just
hmm
like sitting at all-time highs like this, right? I feel like you got to have a pretty near perfect earnings to really get like a crazy move higher, you know? So
right,
that was kind
yeah,
of my thoughts going into it too. I didn't have huge expectations for Google or Amazon, even though I know the earnings could have been great just in terms of the chart. Wasn't
hmm
expecting too much, but option sellers definitely they're the winners today on Amazon. It seems
yeah.
like we'll see.
They win again. It seems to happen a lot for them.
Right. Let's see what else we got. After hours earnings movers, Take Two from yesterday was up 6%. The video game maker posted a narrower than expected third quarter loss, sticking to its GTA 6 timeline. Will we ever get it? I don't know. I don't know if we will, but I'm ready for it. Michael Nauss, actually, I'm curious on your
hmm
thoughts. There's a lot of talk about like this GTA 6, and I mean, think about how long they've spent on this
Oh
video
man.
game, right? Would it be at all like crazy to think that they maybe have some sort of in-game currency where we're able to somehow trade that in a way? Is that an outlandish thought?
I think it's pretty outlandish. You
Is
got to
it?
think from the video game maker point of view. Do you want to deal with that? Do you want to deal with the legal ramifications
Probably
and
not.
you
Probably
know?
not. It's true.
It'd be interesting, but it's just the way it
I'm
works.
super interested. I don't know. I'm super interested to see what happens with GTA 6. I just feel like they've spent so long in it to not
Oh,
incorporate some sort of like, I don't know, like in-game currency that I don't know. We'll see. Either way, let's get through what else was moving. Affirm Holdings up 12%. The buy now pay later firm's second quarter revenue topped estimates, with gross merchandise volume growth jumping 35% year over year. Revenue rising faster at 47%, signals strong unit economics. Fortinet up 7%. Cybersecurity firm's fourth quarter earnings revenue and 2025 sales guidance all topped estimates. So
hmm
looking really good there. Pinterest up 19%. Social media sites' fourth quarter revenue rose 18% year over year, topping estimates. Expedia up 10%. Travel website posted better than expected gross bookings, reflecting resilient travel demand during the winter holiday season. Makes sense to me.
yeah.
Um, Got Philip Morris up 10%. Tobacco products company strong earnings guidance overshadowed a mixed fourth quarter report. Zinn's growth continues. We love to see that. Bill Holdings down 31%. Here, getting into the red names now. Second quarter revenues and earnings topped estimates, but its third quarter guidance implied far weaker growth than anticipated, so not looking good there. And then we have Elf Beauty also down 23%. The cosmetics giant cut its full year guidance following a 36% decline in profits and softer than expected sales trends in January. So good stuff there. Anything standing out to you, Michael, on here that you wanted to talk about?
What's interesting, I was just going through the charts as you were chatting there, and Affirm, for example, gapped up and it was in an uptrend. Elf gapped down and it was in a downtrend. Take Two Interaction gapped up is uptrend. It's an old, kind of technical analysis saying that the things, gaps, news, surprise events generally seem to happen in the direction of the underlying trend. So we saw a lot of that when it comes to this. So it seems like, you know, uh, apart from things like Bill, if your stock was going up into earnings, it kind of continuing to go up and vice versa. But yeah, a lot of positive names, which is good because I've noticed a lot of down names in what's been going on. So it's good
Yeah.
to see some positivity finally from the earnings front.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's been a tough earnings season for the most
Mm,
part so far. So yeah, excited for the rest of it. Excited for Nvidia. We're gonna see what all that. I don't know. Is it? We'll see if it's over or not. I guess. Huh? We had some big data come out this morning. Non-farm payrolls came out, and I think we're looking pretty positive on it. 143K versus 175,000. Unemployment came in at 4%. So looking pretty solid there. What do we got? Fed Bowman speaking at 9:25 Eastern. Michigan consumer sentiment at 10. Got another Fed speaker at 12. So I mean, all week we've had Fed speakers,
I
some
know.
volatile times throughout the market days. So
Yeah.
just got to watch out for those times. The pre-market earnings going on are Canopy Growth, Newell Brands, CBOE Global Markets, Iterum Therapeutics, and Plains All American. Obviously, no after-hour earnings being Friday.
Hmm.
And yeah, just remember you guys can always listen into these on the StockTwits platform on any of those earnings calls. So take advantage of that. But any of these pre-market earnings that you're really watching out for, Michael?
It's interesting. So yeah, Canopy growth I think is going to be interesting because the MSOS, the ETF, when it came to cannabis, it was actually really strong recently. So this is probably obviously going to put a damper on that. But the other thing too is I watched non-farm payrolls this morning and some of these numbers, and it was super interesting to see the muted reaction. And it's been the last like 3 or 4 economic type events had really, really muted reaction. So no one's caring as much. And I think part of that is just we kind of know what's going to happen with interest rates, right? Trump came into office and said, I'm going to bully Jay Powell to lower rates. So that's what's going to happen. So it seems like it's shifting, right? Before it seemed like you just wait for whatever economic report and then the market would move significantly based off of that. That seems to be kind of dying down. I think earnings is way more important than the economic numbers. So if you're focusing on one thing, I would focus on that. And then yeah, Canopy growth. I'm going to be watching MSOS because I'm interested in just taking a little bit of a flyer on this, which has been probably the worst industry I've ever seen in my trading career. Just new lows after new lows. But if you can time a bounce, you can do pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe things change, right? One of these days, and it's a
Maybe.
better investment. But as of now, it's just not been great,
Yeah.
not been great. So, I'm actually curious, just on your thoughts, real quick.
Hmm.
On the I've heard there's been a lot more talk about like psychedelic space, especially with RFK,
Yep.
coming in. What are your thoughts there? I'm curious if you think there's maybe any opportunity there over the next 4 years.
Well, so full disclosure, I own a pretty irresponsible amount of MindMed. I just got it was a purely kind of systematic algorithmic trade at like 5, and the thing just rocketed to 10 like right away. So I've got a rule that I usually will sell half and I'll just keep the rest. And I've been trading around that position. So just full disclosure, right? I'm talking my book here, but I think the difference is that with the marijuana sector, they want it to be legalized. They want it to be sold on every corner. That was kind of their game plan. And the problem with that is, they call it weed for a reason. It grows everywhere. It becomes very commoditized, razor thin margins. Ultimately, I believe that names like Philip Morris and all this will be the ultimate beneficiaries because they can deal with razor thin margins. They'll probably just buy up a couple of these companies and move on. Psychedelics are trying to be healthcare product replacements. So they're not trying to compete with, beer or parties. They're trying to compete with, SSRIs and antidepressants and all of these things. So I think it's a different beast. RFK I read has been more positive on doing that. So it's less about a rescheduling of, MindMed, for example, is working on LSD. They don't want LSD to be sold on every street corner, right? They want to keep it as a FDA approved drug. So there, I think you have to treat these a little bit more like biotechs and a little bit less like things that are getting commoditized. So it looks good. The PSIL, and I'll go over this when we go over charts. The PSIL ETF, which is the psychedelics ETF, has been breaking out. It's been insanely relatively strong. It's been the strongest sector that I've been watching. So I've been buying a little bit there as well. But it looks good. And I just think, right, we have to divorce the marijuana and the psychedelic sectors in my mind because I think they're just going after kind of different target audiences.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I was just curious because, even if it's a small portion of the portfolio that you want to be diversified with, right, and just kind of maybe take some speculative plays,
Hmm.
I think
And
that might be a good area to maybe try it in. So,
yes, very speculative play, which is good
yeah.
to good to note. Yeah.
Roblox buyers stepping in after the earnings disaster. So, closing fairly strong at the end of the day there.
Hmm.
Just basically right off that range on the daily, we just touched that $60 and bounced pretty hard. So love to see that after the earnings, especially when you see something gap down like that overnight. It's nice to see buyers show up, buy the dip right away, right? So
Yep.
love to see that for Roblox. Obviously, if you get continued momentum today, that's awesome into that gap. I wouldn't expect it after. I mean, it's just a lot's happened, right? You got earnings,
Hmm.
then the bulls bought it up. I wouldn't expect this to just rocket right back to the highs, but you never know, right? So keep it on your chart. Keep aware of where this is at, but could
This
be
one's
good
a
off
good
the sixty
example
bucks.
of, we large institutions, they're not going to trade in the after hours of pre-market. There's just not enough liquidity for them that they'd push it around. So it's why the open becomes really, really important, I think, after these gaps. And like you mentioned, if you look at the open versus the low there, they started buying that right away. So as soon as the institutions had the liquidity to start getting involved and got off the bench, they started buying. So same thing we saw in the overall market on Monday morning, right? Pretty much as soon as institutions could get involved, they started buying. So exactly what you want to see. So you're right. You just want to look for follow through here to see, if someone's taking a large stake, finally they're seeing it at a discount and they're saying, I want to buy, as opposed to when they see it at a discount and they run away.
Yeah, I'm with you. What else we got? What else do we have? MG&I flag breakout on Magnite. So this is getting some momentum, starting to look really good. We got that 618 retracement of this range that we've been in, that we're coming up to. So I would expect a move towards that. It's kind of being a magnet at the moment into that $25. Obviously, you have some resistance areas previously from there that, used to be support, now can look to be resistance. But I think, as long as you got good momentum here, continue momentum into that 618, I would like to see the high on this personally, with the way this is looking, as long as you're holding the structure. But any thoughts on this chart?
Yeah, one thing I like to do with these charts, and I actually have a strategy that I run. As you know, I'm quantitative in nature, right? So a lot of the trades that I make are just going to be based off what the system points out. Is ones that have kind of fallen from grace, like this one. It's from $73 down to a low of like $5, and now it's slowly starting to look to recover. I just anchor view up from that prior high, and if we can get above that, it means that if you start to buy this at the worst possible time, you're starting to make money on it now. And we just ticked through that. That's sitting like pretty much exactly at $19. So we just ticked through that a little bit, showed some strength into that move. So that's certainly an interesting play. Again, from one of my systems, that's the idea, right? You buy it through there. So that's something I'm actually writing down, and I may take with me. So I appreciate the user that pointed that out.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. What else we got? Let's see. What else we got for charts? Is that it? Uh-oh, my man on the back end. My man on the back end. Is that it for the charts?
Oh, internet cut out.
I can hear you. Oh, your internet cut out. You're good. I can hear you.
Michael we can go Nauss. To charts here.
Yeah, throw up your chart. That's fine.
Sure.
It's all good.
Let's go to screen.
I thought my man fell asleep back there. I was like, uh-oh.
No way. So yeah, this is the same chart that we were just looking at, this MGNI, the way I look at it. It's a very simple pattern, something that I love a lot. I know you guys have Brian Shannon on from time to time, right? A mentor of mine, big AV app guy. That's what this purple line is. So basically, if you started buying this at the worst possible time, the absolute high, and you were just DCAing into it, right now, it's you're just breaking out of this right here. So you're finally just starting to pop above, and just shows that, hey, now everyone's starting to get happy, right? Everyone's starting to get excited now that you're above that anchored VWAP. So that's the play. So I'll stop sharing so you can pop back into the presentation.
Yeah, let's see. It should work now. Let's see. Let's try it. I think we're good. We're good to go.
There we go. So that's what we just covered. And
GILD, here we go, has S&P's highest PE here. S&P 500 stocks by a highest price to earnings ratio. So you can see this chart in Gilead Sciences, or Gilead. Is that how it is? Gilead?
I've always said Gilead. I could
Gilead,
be wrong, but...
yeah. They got the highest one. So love to see the chart where it shows you each company down to the lowest there. I guess any thoughts here, Michael, on this?
No, I see it.
It's not something you use, really, is it? The PE?
No, as a technical analyst, they always say, why messy up something as beautiful as price with something as subjective as earnings. So it is what it is.
I get you. Let's see what else. Zoom clears major resistance. It's been a minute since I've seen this chart. Obviously, Zoom has gotten pretty killed over some time, but you've actually seen a little bit of basing going on here. We went from those sharp lower highs, lower lows to now, going sideways. Market at least was breathing instead of just rugging itself, right? And now you're actually starting to get some higher highs, higher lows, a little bit of momentum towards these resistance areas that we made while basing. So, looking interesting. We're getting some momentum. We're getting up to that big psychological level of $100, which I would definitely watch out for if we bump our head into that. But looking pretty solid here. It's just a matter of, with Zoom, I would need some sort of big catalyst really like need to see some big momentum, it would be hard for me to get involved with this name, but I don't hate the way this looks at all. So, what were your thoughts on Zoom? It's not been a great name over the past year and a half, 2 years, but
Well, and it's been putting in, so this these low bases are very interesting. And I think one of the indicators that one of those dotted lines is the 30 week, just because I put that on my chart. And there's Stan Weinstein has done this stage analysis work for a long time. The simple idea is when you have these really long low bases, it just shows that that's generally where value investors are starting to get involved. People are are starting to buy at that level, and that just creates that floor that exists for some time. And then now we start to break out. So exactly like you mentioned, what we're looking for is some sort of catalyst to continue this breakout, and then we could enter into a nice uptrend. Now, I did the same anchored VWAP trick that I did before, and that's sitting at 172. So you got a long way to go until you have that sentiment flip. People are still very underwater in this name, and when people are underwater, there's nothing like looking at the P&L on your screen to gauge sentiment. So there's a lot of people who are down a lot of money in this. That to me is a bit of a headwind that I'm not too interested in. But overall, it looks good if it can stay above this base for an extended period of time.
yes, sir. Let's see what else. One of their charts. Tesla. Oh, I love me some Tesla. So I'm excited to talk about this. I was hoping there was a chart on Tesla. Okay, so interesting stuff.
Pulled up in your chair and everything. You sat up straight.
Oh yeah. So okay. The other day, not yesterday, not the day before, but the day before that, I entered very lightly some longer dated 500 calls for Tesla for April. So I started a position there, but it was in hopes that we would go and take these daily lows. So I've been watching for this 373.04 to get broken to the downside. Being the range low, I would think we needed to retest that area, get some bigger buyers to actually, get the liquidity to fill their orders, and then now we can go higher, in my opinion, is what I'm looking for. So yesterday we got what I wanted. We got to close back over that daily level. So as of now, I do think this is a sweep of that area, and I would like to see a good day today, especially because Tesla loves Fridays. So I would really like to see the momentum get started today and have a strong close into that, 388, 390 area, if not even higher, into that 400. That would be ideal. So loving Tesla here. It's just a matter of, do we hold this range, right? Do we hold this daily low that we swept and closed above, right? If not, if we want to get displacement to the downside and we just continue selling, then I have to exit stage left. We want to retest 350, and then I can maybe look for, some spots down lower. But I really do like the spot, and, I think if we get momentum off this area, this could be the short-term low for a bit now. So I love this area, but we'll see. We gotta get more now. We gotta get continuation from my entry, right? So, what are your thoughts, Michael?
I know I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree fully with you because I think it's pretty obvious here where it's the pullback is orderly for now, right? Monster stock, which just has doubled in the last couple of years, or from even April 2023 low, has doubled since then. So monster stock, just taking a breather, pulling back nicely. This is what you want to see. The red candles, you notice that they're very, very small, just showing that those institutions that, again, they don't trade during the pre-market to cause those gaps. They trade during the trading day. They're not super interested in selling here. There's no like aggressive candles or aggressive sell-offs. It's all very orderly, very chill. And that's what you want to see, in my opinion, going forward on something like this. So I think you nailed the level right as well. 375, 350, that kind of zone. If we can hold that, that looks great. But orderly pullback for now, for me, is kind of more of a trend trader. In a lot of cases, I want to see that breakout. So if you take this chart, there's just a nice downtrend line across those where he has all those lower highs. If you break that, I think it's game on.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, so I took advantage of that dip yesterday, added to those 500s I had. We brought our average down significantly. I think we closed green on those. So want to see the continuation, but got plenty of time there as well. I want to be very clear. This is not like a short-term day trade, right? I'm not in 0-day options for Friday, even though there might be like a day trade today on Tesla, especially if the momentum's there on a Friday. But, that doesn't mean I'm going to go hop in 0 days personally. So just keep that in mind. The longer dated trade for me. But yeah, loving the way it looks. And again, I mean, it's been one of the strongest names this year so far. So just trying to follow that strength, right? On the dips, like you said, dip is extremely orderly. There's nothing like crazy about this. Oh my God. Like no fear really coming in my opinion. So
Exactly.
love to
Yeah.
see that. Let's see what other charts. Oh no, that's it for the chart art. Let's see what the chat wants us to look at. Feel free, guys, to throw some tickers in the chat if you want us to
Cool.
check them out.
I'll pop over here.
Yeah, you can throw up your screen, Michael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's just a simplified look of what I was looking
Mm-hmm.
at in Tesla. Obvious downtrend. We keep hitting this line, bumping down, hitting, and a nice support zone. That was the place we broke out from. One of the kind of easiest trades I think on earth is finding an area that you broke out of, and then you start to sell back down into that area. If there are buyers there, if there's price memory there, you got a level to play off of, and it makes it real simple just to say, okay, if we can hold this zone, then I'm going to play off the zone, and if not, it's time to go. So, that looks good. So there's yeah, a couple names we can go through as we're waiting. One thing I just kind of want to show off first is this is again where
I
I'm.
love your heat maps. Wait, where is this one's from TrendSpider? I'm always wondering
Yep.
because they're just so clean. I don't know. These ones are great.
No, I love them. And this is again, so this is my custom list. This is the ETFs that I go through. I go through these every night, every weekend, and at the end of the month when there's new monthly candles. And so this is what I look at. And generally speaking, sometimes you can get themes when this area is up and this area is down. This is week to date. I'll change it to daily in a second, but this is week to date. So this is showing that most sectors are up pretty big. And when I'm judging risk on, risk off, what kind of environment we are, well, we have psychedelics leading. Then we have WGMI, which is our Bitcoin miners. Then we have weed. Then we have copper. All of these things are very risk on, like we're positive about the economy. Everything looks good instruments. And then we have things that are down. We have oil. We have agriculture and commodities are down. So those are risk off sectors. So this is just showing under the hood, everyone is absolutely loving life. So I just wanted to show that a little bit before we got going. I'll change this before the open just so that it's for the day. There it is. And you can see the things that are gapping up. Again, psychedelics again. Bitcoin's doing great. China, again, very risk on, risk appetite behavior. So we can just hammer through some charts while we wait for the open. First one is Intel. I don't know. I've said this a couple times, right? We have an obvious area of
She's trying to hang on, Michael. She's
it's,
trying.
it's like that poster, the hang on kitty thing, right? It's
Yeah.
it's this 18-ish
Well,
level. It's
because here's
trying.
the problem. A lot of people look at this and they're like, this thing is bottoming, right? And the way I see it, I don't know if you maybe look at this in a similar perspective, but of course yes, a base is can be healthy, right?
Mhm.
But the way I see this for the most part is like a glass window. The bottom is a glass window.
Yeah.
The more times I tap on that window, the closer it's going to get to breaking, right? A
Yep.
strong bounce to me is not where we go down to a level and tap it 1,000 times and then bounce, right? Like no, when I'm looking for aggression, we come into that level, and I mean, the orders have been set that we hit that level, and it's
Mhm.
that strong aggression that you want to see. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm curious if you kind of have a similar thought on that. Obviously, there's plenty of plays where we've bottomed out like this and had huge moves to the upside, but I feel like more times than not when I see this style setup, it's a setup to break down.
Yeah.
But
It's there's an old saying that bottoms are usually an event, tops are a process, and this doesn't look like an event. Like, and basically just meaning, generally speaking, bottoms happen because everybody pukes out at the lows and then it bounces. This kind of thing gets me a little bit more worried. This is just to stay away until if this is a low base right here and we're just hanging out in this low base, we got to break out before it gets to $40 a share. It's got to break this 22 or so a share. So if it was me trading this, I'm just going to say, hey, give me some evidence that this is going to break higher, that we're going to move higher, and not really buying at the lows. I get the idea. I think it's psychological, where people, right, they want to buy. They look at the chart and they say, well, we're right down near the bottom of the chart, and they just kind of think that the bottom of the chart is support and the top of the chart is resistance. So they don't want to buy things when they're at the top of the chart, and they want to buy things when they're at the bottom of the chart, which as we know, is the complete and utter opposite of what all of the studies tell us that we should do. We should be buying strength. We should be buying the strongest ones. So if Intel or if Nvidia gives way, if the semiconductors start to sell off, I don't think there's anything in the world that saves Intel because it's the weakest out there. It's the one that people will run away from the fastest, right? So
Yeah, you're gonna need a big catalyst for Intel. There's the bell. The market is open.
there is the
Fatful
bell.
Friday has started, and let's see if Tesla gets off to the races here. Just some tickers from the chat. Gur, have you? Oh yeah, you already got it
that up here. So
this is picking up momentum again, man. This was quiet for a little bit.
So yeah, I think I mentioned last time, because this seems to be a common one that people ask for, is that this is the same thing. This is an anchored VWAP from this high. The same thing I was talking about with a lot of those other names, that if it pulls down for a long time, you anchor VWAP from the high. If it can get through, that gets interesting to me. So it means the average buyer from the worst price is something you want to look at. But this seems to be one of those that pops up and then sells eventually, and then pops up and sells. So that worries me that it has this history of doing that. However, it's held on to this gain the longest I think it has in the life of the company so far. So it looks interesting. And again, I like the fact that it sold off a little bit, seemed to respect that VWAP really well, and now we're above it. So for me, the trade here would be obvious. If we're above this VWAP, I can potentially get involved. If not, it's probably time to go.
Yeah, I can't say I hate it when the chart looks, pretty similar to Tesla.
Exactly.
Can't say I hate it,
Well, and that's something you could do with Tesla, right? If you wanted to just make your trade kind of brain dead, is you just anchor a VWAP to the high and you say, okay, if we get above that, that it's momentum continuation, and if we don't, I think it's time to go. That's another way to look at that.
Yeah.
So we got OKL low, and then we'll check. That'll be a minute or two in the market. We'll see how this opens up. These look great. All of these, you can do NNE, you can do SMR, no, NNE and SMR. These are all these nano nuclear plays. OKLO is obviously the leader here, so it's the one that's performing the best. Not really much technical analysis to do on this because it's just kind of grinding new all-time highs. I will say earnings is coming up on this, so just be a little bit careful. A little too overextended for me. If we slap on, like a Williams R, yeah, you can see we've been overbought here for a while. So nothing that I would buy here, but if you're in it, it's just a great look. I would just draw a trend line or put a moving average on it and just try to stick with it as long as it stays above that, right?
Yeah, it's been a strong stock lately. Let's see. Let's check out SMCI. That's been a name I haven't looked at in a while.
It's trying to come back. I have a bit of a rule. If the DOJ is knocking, I generally don't want to trade that name. That's just kind of a pretty hard rule for me. Every time they get a little, they get this spike up, people start reversing. So, you get more juice with something like this, but I'm always one that I want to trade the leader, right? If I think semiconductors are going to go up, there's no way Nvidia is not going to benefit from that, and that's going to be a little bit of a safer kind of play. You're going to get more juice out of this one, but if they have another knock on the door and say, "Hey, your books still look bad," you can lose like 50% of this overnight. I think the reason people are interested in this name is because of the volatility, right? Ripped here from $17 to 40. That's again a pretty wild move there. So. Again,
the problem with it is okay, so the problem with SMCI that I have is you see the moves that we made, what was it, just last year or whatever, where this name basically didn't go down for months, right? We were just going straight up with all the momentum. And I feel like people are just chasing that continuously, chasing that and thinking that that's going to happen again. Whereas the people that actually caught that move, one of them being myself, I caught the majority of that move with my long-term shares. I think that was, to this day, the biggest position I've ever had in my long-term that made, in terms of gains. And I'm gone, and I never want to touch it again. You know what I mean? The people, I feel like the people that did very well on it are nowhere near this name anymore. Right. And that's where it's tough for the investors coming in trying to milk that move again. It's just, I don't know. I personally feel like SMCI had its moment and it's kind of done with until they come out with something crazy, something wild, but I don't see it there. Every time we get some sort of bounce, it gets sold off. And we're just right back to the beginning of, this impulsive move we got from that consolidation. I remember trading that, waiting for that breakout for that move to, well, $100 now. Before the split, it was higher, obviously, but I can't see the bull case on SMCI, especially when you have so many other better candidates. I just don't get it, but
It's yeah, but I think you're right. Or people look at a move like this where it went from $7 to 100 and say, okay, well, if it can get back through there, the problem I have is when you have the move from $100 down to 35, then you have so many people that are bag holders and they're just waiting for this thing to kind of pop up, and just kind of going from there. Let's take just a quick look what's happening here just in the overall markets. So far, not a lot. So one thing I do every morning is I just mark pre-market highs, pre-market lows, just that's what these thick black lines are. And neither of those are doing anything right now. We came to the pre-market high. We're pulling back from it, a long way from the pre-market lows. So yeah, so far, not much. Not much is happening. We just gotta wait. Some of these gappers are interesting. I just have FRM or firm on the other part of the screen here, just ripping right from the opening print. The gap and go, and ELF looks like it's kind of the other way. It's gapping and put in this crazy candle and looks like it's pushing down. So seeing some split up in the overall market, just kind of want to point that out. And then the other thing I look at is, again, this heat map. WGMI, KWeb, COPX, all doing well. Then we've got this section down here not doing so well. But a lot of that is, XLV, which is healthcare and energy. These things are looking a little bit more poory. So so far so good, but yeah, when it comes to SPY, I just watch this range and see what's happening here. I wouldn't be surprised not to see a whole lot when it comes here to a Friday.
Yeah, Tesla's starting to cook a bit. Let's get that going. Come on, baby. From the chat, let's see. Palantir has been ridiculous. Michael, who is buying this, Michael? At $112, who is purchasing the stock right now? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Momentum traders.
Gosh, man.
Yeah.
Oh. This is ridiculous. I thought earnings we were going to pull into that 70s, high 60s, low 70s area. We did not do that. Rocket over $100, and we're just continuing to. Then I was like, okay, we're going to open up and see some profit takers. Not really. No, we're just continuing. So I mean, what are your thoughts? Where do we think this can go? I'm kind of baffled at this point. Obviously, we're kind of in price discovery mode, so it can go anywhere. But
that's exactly it, right? Yeah. It is in price discovery mode, so it's just something that you just can't guess at. You can't really
take it every dollar, right? Every even dollar, I guess. That's the best I've found I can do, and even that doesn't work too great sometimes, because especially the more expensive the stock, the less $110, $115, $120 matters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas, if it's a $10 stock, obviously $5 is going to be a huge psychological level. Matters less on something like Palantir, but that's like all I can really think of to do when you're in this type of situation is, okay, we're at 113. Can we get above that? All right, 114, right? And it's just dollar by dollar. I don't know how else I would really do that.
I don't think there is another way to do it. Now, if you're involved in something like a Palantir, this is one of those that I think you grab your favorite moving average and you walk away, right? I think that's all there is to it. Where you have a system in place, you've got some sort of moving average that you're looking at, and you just got that set, and you check every day, and if it closes below that moving average, it's probably time to go. And if it doesn't, and everything's looking great, then you just continue to stay involved. And because every now and then, and this is what we're trying to do with trading, is every now and then you're trying to get a big winner, right? You're trying to just really knock the doors off everything. And this could be it. Again, if you're in from the breakout, if you're in before then, it already is a great trade. Yeah, but you pick a 20 period moving average or whatever it is, and you say, hey, as long as we're above that, I'm going to stay involved. If we break that, I think it's time to go. And that's just something that I think just keeps you in the game, keeps you pushing towards whatever this goal is. Because you're right, we don't know, right? This thing could double from here, or right now could be the top. We don't have any price memory. We don't have any price discovery to tell us one way or the other what's going on. So you just have to, you got to get the trend. You got to get the trend. You got to ride the trend as long as you can, and then you just got to move off when things break, right? So, don't get married to it, but now's the time to develop your exit plan and to sit back and let that exit plan work, I think.
Yeah. Especially because there's so many people that, I mean, capitalize massively on Palantir.
Yeah.
It's like take your money, man. Take your
Hmm.
money. You won. Don't chance it. you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some people want us to check out SOUN as well. SoundHound.
SOUN.
Not a
This is
name
one
I
of these
love.
AI darlings, right?
Yeah.
The AI darlings continue to push, continue to look interesting. It's definitely something that I think this breakout is very interesting. You see, I had this already drawn up uh, before anything happened, so it's just something that it looks to be uh, respecting this pattern, I guess the best way to put it. I had this already drawn. You have these lows here at 1250, give or take. We're breaking this downtrend line now. We need to see that it holds, but this is going to move with a lot of the other AI type stuff. So I think it's just whether or not you're seeing that AI thing move with it. So why AI stuff? I mean, obviously Nvidia, right? If Nvidia is crashing, it seems like they bring down all of the AI related names with it. If SMH would be another just good one to overall watch, right? Is AI hot right now? Google, all of these things. If AI is doing well, then I think these are trades you can place. And if not, then I think it's just something you have to go, right? So, yeah, it looks good, right? It's a great looking chart. It needs just something to pop it out. So whether it's news from the company itself or whether it's just the AI play starts to heat up again, those are the kind of things you can think of. But this is just like a lot of these things end up being high beta Nvidia, right? If Nvidia is moving, you're gonna have SOUN, you're gonna have all these ones moving
Shit, this will
great.
probably consolidate tell Nvidia earnings or
Yeah.
its own earnings, honestly. yeah.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense, right? We have this, this big event that's coming up with Nvidia earnings, and that's going to be kind of telling us what's going to happen in AI as a whole. So yeah, if AI is hot, there's a trade you want to place, and if AI is not hot, then again, I think it's time to go.
Yeah. I'm skeptical of this Nvidia earnings, man. It's so hard to bet against, and I'm not betting
Hmm.
against. Like I'm not taking any positions based off any thoughts, but it's just a different market. Like Nvidia's not really leading nothing anymore, except for the other semis, of course, right? But I
Yeah.
feel like in terms of the overall market, not really been the leader this year. It doesn't mean it can't be, but it's like, does that change? I'm just very interested with this earnings and to see how it kind of plays out and whether or not like okay doesn't let's say Nvidia does make an outsized move up or down, is the market reacting towards that accordingly as what we've seen in the past year, right?
Yeah.
Or are we seeing something different? Are we seeing some divergence between those two assets now, right? Like I'm very interested with all this. This is really going to kind of set the tone, I think, for Nvidia itself and the general markets on whether or not we're actually kind of trading with Nvidia or not now, right? So
Could not agree more. It is not only kind of the bellwether of the market right now, but it's just the bellwether of everything going on, right? So it's the canary in the coal mine, right? If things are going to break down and things are going to have a bit of a bad time, then Nvidia I think is going to happen first, or at least happen with it. And if Nvidia is doing fine, then I don't think there's anything in the world in the long run that can bring down this market. I think it's very much a you watch Nvidia, and if Nvidia is slowly selling off or slowly correcting, maybe the market can still stand a chance. If it's happening real quick, if you see an Nvidia crash, then I think it's kind of all bets are off. So how a lot of people just look at the S&P 500 to see what's going on. I spend a lot of time looking at Nvidia just to see if there's that risk on appetite. Just the same thing I do. I'm watching Bitcoin a lot on the weekend just to see, is this something that people are interested in? And yeah, so if Nvidia continues to grind higher, I think the rest of the market will as well. Let's take a couple. ASTS, this guy. This one's doing a little bit of a. I was watching this one, a little bit of a scoop and score, or you could call it a bear trap or whatever it is, but had a pretty clear area here at around 21 bucks and looked like it was breaking down from under that and then just ripped higher. So I did the same thing. You can see I do this a lot. Take the anchor VWAP from all-time highs, spent ages and ages and ages, kept bumping its head on that and failing over and over and over again. Got through that yesterday and then closed and breaking up a little bit today. A little bit overbought, I'd say, on the short term, but it's a good look. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong there, Jordan, but I think this is one of the space ones, the
Yeah.
launching rockets or satellites or something.
Yeah, so it's kind of got that that catalyst behind it, you know what I mean? That sentiment behind it. So no, and this looks great. I mean, just from the way I look at the chart, I mean, I see consolidation after big impulsive moves up. The move down that we made below that support that you have drawn there
Yeah.
was just kind of a sweep of price of those previous lows. We reclaim price. As soon as we reclaim, you see that momentum step in, and now we're breaking previous highs. I would expect on this, when I see that rally up like that, I would expect some sort of retest of these previous highs we had, or even that support line that you did draw. So I don't think it's like straight up from here, but I do think that we're going to get a little bit of a setup for a potential nice entry on something like this. And then, you know, it can be, for me, it would set up to something where it's like, okay, I can now risk the daily range lows, right? And basically just hold on as long as we're holding those daily range lows. I still like it, right? Seeing the momentum there. So
This is it's a hard setup to trade, but it is one of my favorites. The right, a clear support zone. You spend a couple days under that, you get everyone super negative, it's over, and then it rips back to the upside. Same thing in reverse. You get it, if you have to squint to see the support and resistance zone, I don't think it's the move. But if you have a super clear area, and then you have that rip and go, then right, to me that's really cool, just because you have all the shorts that are getting involved, and then even more so, you have a lot of longs that are exiting, right? They're moving out of the position, and then yeah, you just got that little dip and rip,
yeah,
or right, all the different names.
well, because what I see here, you explain like short stepping in, and then like to me, right, you're seeing after you get those few days that where everybody's like thinking this is over. And that's when there's a lot of shorts maybe stepping in saying, hey, like we're breaking these daily range lows. We're about to really dump.
Yeah.
Right. Well, where could those shorts possibly be putting their stops? Right. We don't have to see it to know. We know it's going to be above those range highs that we made in the support where that big imbalance is sitting. Right. So you see, literally look at the price right when we actually got over those internal highs there. That's when the momentum kicked off, and that's because orders are getting stopped out. Those short stop losses are hitting, which means they're buying back. Momentum towards the stock brings the price up, right? It's beautiful to see. I love it. It's classic accumulation, manipulation, distribution, right? And I love that. So
yeah, it's just beautiful. A very textbook. So yeah, take a second, chat, and just look at this. Whether you're day trader, whether you're trading futures, whether you're trading whatever, if you can see this, right? Because what's happening is it's pretty obvious where a lot of longs would put a stop loss here, right? To put it right under this low. So, if I'm someone I'm going to try to jam it down into those stop losses, it's the whole thing. I get the question all the time because I've, hung out on the floor of the exchange. I know a lot of market makers, the question of, oh, do they know where my stop is? No, they don't. They're not looking at your stop loss and saying your stop loss here. If you're putting your stop loss where everyone else is putting their stop loss, then yes, right, they're they trade. They know that, under today's low or pre-market lows, these are obvious areas where retail puts stop losses. And on a swing basis, right, these areas are obvious areas where retail puts stop losses. So if we can jam them, let's jam them up, and that's kind of what happened in here. So nice looking chart. Again, you're up like 6 days in a row, 7 days if you just go from low to low. So you just, not something that I would trade right here, but it's a good looking chart. I like it. So how I would trade something like this is if it consolidates for some period of time, if it pulls back and holds this VWAP, those kind of areas I think are super interesting. All right, Amazon. So I actually wanted to look at Amazon. I see that there anyway. I wanted to look at Amazon anyway. So
Amazon looking interesting.
Yeah, these candles include the pre-market range. Just FYI, these are daily candles, but they include the craziness that happened in the pre-market. So, right, if I turn those off, it just looks like that, which still looks good. But yeah, it's the gap down and holding right where the breakout area. Again, if there's one play, if you said, okay, Mike, I'm taking away all your your quantitative stuff, your back tests, all your fancy your machine learning stuff that you do, all that crazy stuff. Uh, what are you doing? If I take everything away, I'm saying I am looking for areas where stocks have broken out of or broken down from, and coming back into that zone and then holding. And that's it. I think that's an easy trade to make, because you know where you're wrong. If we significantly lose this 230 area, then we're wrong. It's time to go. If we hold this, then we know that all the people that had shorted on this breakout, or all the people that bought on this breakout, they defended this level, and it's time. It's time to go. It's time to take a trade there. And again, for me, it's all about, do I know where I'm wrong? If I know where I'm wrong, I can take a trade. If I have the liquidity to get out and I know where I'm wrong, I can take any trade and not worry too much about it. So that to me is pretty interesting. So I'm going to watch Amazon actually myself for today's close, and just to see if we have a move to somewhat of a strong close up here. I might actually buy some. And again, I know right where I'm wrong. If we get a significant close under 230, it's time to go. And then I'm in at a pretty decent. I didn't chase the highs. I'm in at a pretty decent height price if we want to push to highs. So I really like the look of that chart. And another, we talked about Amazon as a bellwether, another bellwether company. Are people buying useless stuff or not? Right? You're going to see it in this chart.
Absolutely. By the way, Tesla cooking, baby. Let's go. 380. Let's keep it moving. I want to see. Well, I have this fib retracement that I don't even remember what I draw it from, but it was definitely from one of the daily ranges, because that's pretty much all I draw for the fibs. So just knowing that I have that left on my chart from one of these previous days we had, 395.26 is definitely a spot I'm going to keep an eye on. But any of these significant previous highs that we bump our head into on Tesla, you're going to want to watch out for if you're intraday trading. For me, I mean, this longer term position, I'm up a little bit, but nothing like, I'm not looking to trim on this name for a while. This is going to be a bit of a longer trade for me personally. I want to at least see 419.50, the range, these range highs, or mid-range highs, so like 440 area is really what I'm looking to capitalize on, and then into those all-time highs, right? So it's definitely a longer position for me. But again, plenty of opportunity for the short-term traders as well, and Tesla loves its Fridays, so
yeah, nice candy or nice candle so far. And what I mean by that is, if you look, the open right here is the low. That's like a very simple thing I think traders can look for. I try to very much demystify technical analysis the best I can. And that, I think, is an easy indicator, is how big is the topping tail or the bottoming tail. Just telling us that, hey, they bought it right off the open. As soon as the liquidity was there for the institutions to get involved, they started to get involved. Again, they're not messing around in the pre-market. There's just not enough juice for them. So yeah, they bought it up. So then the question is, does that hold? And do we close somewhat at the high? Because if so, it's just a nice solid body candle. Good example is, I think if we go kind of right here, this candle, same idea. It gapped up, then it closed, or the open was right at the low there, and we held that, and then nice little trend. Nice little trend from that. So, do you got a target on this, or are you just trying to stay involved?
Those previous highs, so those range highs into like that 424 is the first spot I'm going to be looking at for sure. Yeah, right into those highs.
Yeah, right in. Okay.
And then into all-time highs. Obviously, like if I have something that some big news that comes out and I'm already up big and I would like to trim, I'll make that decision. But ideally, just looking at the daily, if I want like this daily change in structure. Obviously, like the trend is to the upside, but given the pullback we've definitely had a little bit of a change in structure to the downside. So I would like to see, at least if we're talking about a daily, it's looking like a daily close over 410.78 for me is kind of the trigger for structure trying to change. But let me bump down the time frame a little bit, like a 4 hour. Yeah, 4 hours just a little closer. So like 4 hour gives me a little more like clarity on earlier, like 388.30. If we get a 4 hour close over that, I'm starting to get excited a little bit. And now I'm seeing a bit of a change in structure on the 4 hours, so I can lead to expect it on the daily as well, But especially if I see that in the 4 hour, that's giving me real confirmation that what we saw yesterday was indeed a liquidity sweep. Of course, you might see it sweep, and then we trade to the lower time frame, like internal highs that we need to go, hit and then go lower. But so that's why on the 4 hour I want to see what I'm talking about here. That date, that 4 hour close over that 388.50 area, give or take, would be perfect, because that would kind of be giving me confirmation of, okay, you're seeing what you want on the lower time frames. Now you're also seeing it on the 4 hour. You might look to expect it on the daily as well, and so on and so on. We just go by time frame by time frame. So
Cool.
we're gonna keep looking for that. But yeah, definitely targeting those previous highs in that 424, and then really just those all time highs. We'll see if I get it. Definitely longer trade. I'm trying not to even like look at the P&L. Just forget about it for a little bit.
Hey, I don't open my swing account till the close. I just don't, because all my
That's
decisions
wise.
are being made at the close. I just don't look at it. Just not interested. Sometimes it's hard, especially when there's big moves in the market. But yeah, I think that's the move. So
Yeah.
yeah, someone's asking about this Checkpoint Therapeutics. A big zoom out shows, right, getting hammered
Oh
a
boy.
little bit, but nice little move last few days. Yeah,
She's trying
nice
to
little
come back.
move last few days, 3 days up in a row. Yeah, I think you're range bound on this play. I don't think there's a huge amount of analysis to do. Is you're just kind of you're stuck within a range here. You've got these lows, you got these highs. You need something to happen one way or another to get you interested, to get you involved. And until that occurs, I think you're just kind of hanging out. But a long term chart, and I always get worried when you have a long term chart that looks, as longer you zoom out, $200 down to a buck.
That is
It
rough.
it's therapeutics, right? So, and this is more of one of those, I think you study what the company is doing a little bit, and if there is a trial that is close that could change their lives. With the psychedelic companies, we were talking about those earlier. There's a lot of those are getting into phase 3 trials, so big guys could come along. I think ITCI, yeah, this got bought out by Johnson & Johnson a couple days ago. This is another something that they do, has something to do, I think, with psychedelics. They're in the psychedelic ETF. So that's the kind of thing you got to look for, is there going to be a reason that we're going to break from this range? While we look for another symbol, I just want to update the market just quickly.
Yeah.
So
Look at that.
dashboard looking good. NLR and URA popping out of nowhere. So person that was asking about OKLO, yeah, that's doing great. NLR, for those who don't know, this is one of my favorite ETFs. Full disclosure, I own a bunch. I always try to, if I own something and I'm talking about it, I think it's just important to say that. But this is a nuclear adjacent, so it has some uranium in it. It has a lot of these small nuclear reactors. It's got some of the big guys like CEG, CCJ. It's just it's a good way to express if you think nuclear is going to be a thing and you don't want to try to pick the individual names. This is just a good way to get that exposure in your overall portfolio. But really good looking candle today. Nice push
Yeah.
up here. So I don't know if there was some news or tweet or something, because yeah, those weren't on the look at that. That's
No,
a
that's
5 minute
looking
chart.
nice. Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, so
Good stuff.
something happened, because off the open, these things weren't even on my radar, but now they're leading
Yep.
right here. Both of
Pays to have
those.
the heat map, huh? That's why.
Yeah,
That's why you use that right there. It's nice
it's
to have,
all.
because you wouldn't have your eyes on that if it wasn't there. So
Yeah, and I just check
love to see
every,
that.
once half hour, every
Yeah.
hour to say, okay, what's changed, right? What's different?
Yeah.
What's maybe moving to the downside, moving to the upside. It's just a great way to keep an eye on that. So uranium is going to look the same, right? URA. URA looks great because it's right at this support zone, but both of these are still very much range bound, right? So if you're a buy support, sell resistance kind of guy, I think you got some good plays there as well.
Yeah. Good
Do one
stuff.
more.
Yeah. One more. Let's get it.
Let's do one more. I just see someone asked in the chat about
So no.
Sonos. Let's take a look here. So this is a interesting chart. Right, this is a weekly chart. So fallen from grace, but nothing crazy like we've seen with some of these other names. Just putting in a bit of some range bound kind of action. And if we go to the daily chart here, nice little breakout of this zone is looking interesting there as well.
Just a lot of resistance. A lot of those top wicks. Hate to
Yeah.
see that.
That's what I was going to point out as well. I think that's a perfect point out where when you see a lot of wicks like this, it just becomes a very hard thing to trade for any short period of time. I think you have to, as soon as I see a chart like this that's got all of these wicks, not just right at the top there, but just look at this action in here, right? Runs up, gets sold, runs up, gets sold.
Yeah, your stops better be wide.
Right. Yeah, either it's very low volume and no one really cares about the name, or the other way around, people are battling really, really hard. So I'd just say you got a lot of action there. Be careful. This to me is something that as soon as I see that, I zoom out to the weekly chart. And just like you mentioned, you just widen it out, slow it down. It's a crazy name. So just kind of let it go, I think is the best way to do something like that. So
yeah. All right. Well, good stuff.
Cool.
Michael Nauss, I appreciate you as always. It's a fun show with you every Friday.
I love it.
For the crew, I mean, enjoy the day. Trade safe. We got the weekend coming up, so we're wrapping up the week. Again, I've taken 2 trades this week. Well, one trade, 2 executions. It counts the trims, right? So, yeah, light week for me, but we'll see if we get something going. And Tesla's looking really good so far. Coming in a little bit here, back testing this range low that we pulled back to, but I'm seeing. I'm still optimistic. We'll see if we continue the moves today. But
Cool.
but yeah, I might just be focused on that. We'll see if we get any futures plays, but I'm not gonna force anything. If we don't get it, we don't get it, man, and that's all right. We'll wait for next week. So
That's the move.
again, appreciate you, Michael. Everybody, go follow Michael Nauss on Twitter. Make sure you are. He's the man. And
Awesome.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, bright and early. Enjoy the weekend.
See you guys.